Never ever lie to your motorcycle salesman. Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. I hope you're all well. So this video is all about, well, you going to a motorcycle dealership, whatever brand it is, Harley Davidson, Triumph, BMW, Suzuki, whatever it is, and you go and speak to the motorcycle salesman and you're starting to give a bit of a false sense of what you really want or what your true intentions are, because you feel that it might be detrimental to the deal that you may have or the experience that you may have in test riding a bike, for example. So let's just be absolutely clear here. My thoughts on this are that you should be absolutely 100% honest and truthful about what your intentions are, what you want in a motorcycle, and what you're kind of looking for in an experience. So let's just say you go to a dealership and you want to test ride a motorcycle for whatever reason. So let's just say you go into a dealership and you'll say, I'd like to test ride that motorcycle because I really want to buy it. But that's not your intention, right? Well, then you're wasting their time and you're kind of wasting your time as well. Because all you're doing is just, I just want to have a go on it. Now, that might be your intention, but again, you're not being truthful. If you go into the dealership and say, hey, listen, I'd really like to have a look at that bike. I like the look of it. I'm not sure if I really want to buy it. I'm not sure what I want to do, but I'd like to test ride it and see what their reaction is. But at least you're being 100% honest. At least the salesman knows where you're at and you know where you're at as well. Now, I have to kind of go off on a tangent here a little bit, because I am aware that some motorcycle manufacturers or dealerships rather, depending on the country, depending on the area, they are less inclined to allow you to go and have test rides on their demo bikes, let's say. Certainly just to walk into a dealership and say, I'd like to test ride that bike. It really depends where you are, so I'm fully aware of certain restrictions. Also, it depends on which dealership you're at, what demo bikes they have available, maybe what used bike stock they have available, and if they're inclined to let you ride a used bike as well. Now, I've been to dealerships in the past, and let's say they had a motorcycle for sale. I said, okay, I'd like to test ride it first of all before I put pen to paper, because I've never ridden one. I like the look of it, but I don't know if it's going to suit me. They were very reserved about letting me go on the bike as well. And this happens quite a lot, especially with used bike sales, because they basically just don't want you to put extra mileage on the bike. But as I said to them, I'm not going to buy a motorcycle unless I've actually ridden it first. I'm not going to take your word for it. And now again, this really depends where you're at, what the situation is, what the dealership will allow you to do, or the motorcycle salesperson, or the garage, or wherever you're buying this bike from. So it really depends on what you're allowed to do. But as I say, you have to go in with your realistic intentions. And if you're going to want to buy a motorcycle, then for me, you have to test ride that motorcycle. And if they don't want to allow you to test ride that motorcycle for whatever reason, then all I would say is never buy a motorcycle that you're not test riding. Now, I've spoken to people who have bought motorcycles on a whim, never ridden them before, never test ridden them before, never even ridden the brand before, and they've just gone and bought it. And I'm thinking, well, that's crazy. Why would you do that? Now, I can understand it if, let's say, for a Harley Davidson, right? I ride a Harley Davidson, as you know. And I ride a Sport Glide, which is in the Softail class of motorcycles. It might be argued that one Softail is very similar to another Softail in the way it rides. But actually, it doesn't. They're completely different in many ways. Same with the Taurus. Same with any brand of motorcycle. You might have very similar motorcycles on a similar chassis with a similar engine, but the way they ride is completely differently. So test riding a motorcycle is really important. And if you're going in with the intention that you want to buy a motorcycle you're very interested in, then you have to be realistic about what your expectations are, but also how you convey that to the salesman as well. Be absolutely honest about what you want. Now, also that helps the salesman to kind of fine-tune what motorcycle might suit you best, and what recommendations they may make to you. So there's an exchange here. There's a bartering of information. You need to help them to help you. So always be 100% honest about what you want and what you don't want. Now, it might be the case that actually you don't know what you want. You don't know what bike you want. You don't know what kind of ride you want. You just might be new to this, or you may have been riding your bike for 10, 15 years and you fancy a change, but you just don't know. Be honest. Be honest with the dealership. Be honest with the salesman and say, listen, I've come to look at some bikes. I don't really know. Give them a history. Give them what you want. Have a conversation with them, and you might be surprised at how willing they are to let you on the motorcycle, let you experience it. No strings attached. You can just have a ride in it and see what you think. Now, if there are strings attached, or if they are very restrictive, then hey, all you need to do is vote with your feet. Walk out, go somewhere else and find somewhere that they will allow you to ride a bike and experience it for yourself. Okay, so there is another thing. There's another aspect to this as well. In years gone by, many motorcycle dealerships would not let you ride their bikes at all. Then they started to change tack a little bit. Then they started to say, no, we've got these demo bikes and, you know, you could ride this bike and ride that bike, or we've only got one demo bike because they're a small dealership, let's say. You know, we can't really afford another demo bike that's the bike that you exactly want to ride, but if you want to ride this, then take a chance on that, you know, so on and so forth. So in recent years, more and more dealerships and certainly bigger dealerships, but also I go back to my earlier point and where you are in the world and if they allow test rides and everything. What happened was that certain dealerships will say, actually, we're getting people here just come in to test ride bikes because they just want to test ride bikes, right? They have no intention of buying bikes. They have no intention of, you know, thinking about buying a new bike or what their next bike might suit them. So what happens is you get people who are YouTubers or TikTokers or Instagrammers, and they say, hey, listen, I'm going to go and make content. I'm going to ride loads and loads of bikes, right? Well, dealerships got aware of this. They were aware of this 5-10 years ago. They know that a lot of people are trying to go to dealerships just to test ride bikes so they can take videos and, you know, purely to make videos, not with any intention to buy. The other aspect here is that they had a lot of people taking out bikes and damaging them, or they got trashed or whatever. So some dealerships started to charge would-be customers £15, £10, dollars, shekels, whatever it is, to test ride those bikes. And a lot of that is to cover the insurance as well and the excess on the insurance. So that, let's say you pay £15 here in the UK at certain dealerships. Basically, if you have a crash, you have a very small amount that you would have to pay to cover the cost, or you don't have to pay anything at all. The insurance is there to cover that cost. It also stops those fly-by-night, those guys who just want to go and test ride bikes and says, well, actually, I don't want to pay £15, therefore I won't go and test ride that bike. So the dealerships have become aware of it and they've changed tack, but also the way you approach dealerships in the way you want to test ride bikes or experience bikes, you know, has maybe changed a little bit, and it really depends where you are. Again, this is all very subjective here to where you are in the world, what brand you're riding. Now, some dealerships I know don't charge at all. You have to sign an insurance waiver and all that sort of stuff, but that's about it. They don't charge you. Others do. For me, it doesn't bother me to pay that now, whereas before I was kind of, oh no, I'm definitely not paying that, whereas now I'm thinking, yeah, why not? But my intentions, let's say, are always, well, pure, in that I always phone the dealership ahead of time. I explain what I'm looking for. I explain where I'm thinking, where I might want to go. I have a chat with the salesman. I say, you know, listen, this is where I'm at. I'm not sure if I really want to change. I'm not sure if I'm looking for this. I want to experience a new bike, but I don't really know if it's going to be suited to me. Can I try this bike out and see? So there's no strings attached. Now, they might say to me at some point, they might say, do you know what? We know you're a YouTuber. We know you're making video content, and we're not going to let you ride these bikes. Absolutely fine. But I also make it very clear in my videos and very clear with them as well that this is purely a personal test to see if I really like this bike and which way I want to go. These are bona fide tests for me. I'm not just doing this for YouTube content, albeit I do make video content on them as I'm doing them as well. and I've said this before as well, that I mostly make the videos of these test rides purely so I can look back on them and see how I felt about the bike at the time. So going to any kind of dealership, whether it's car or motorcycle, especially motorcycle when you're out on your own a little bit, the dynamic may have changed a little bit. The way dealerships act or salesmen act may have changed a little bit. The way different people go into dealerships may have changed a little bit as well, and their intentions. Now, for the most part, people are just going in to test ride because of the bikes that they really want to try out, or they're really interested in, or they've never ridden before and they think, I'd really like to have a go on that and see what they think. All I would say is, if you're going to do that, just be upfront and honest with yourself about what you want out of that test ride, but honest with the salesman so they know exactly what you're looking for as well. Anyway, this is not really a tips video. It's more of a how I see the scenario, how it's changed over the last few years about going into dealerships and test rides. Sometimes you have to pay for them, sometimes you don't. It really depends on the availability of the bikes. It depends on whether you ride in a used bike or a demo bike, whether the dealership will allow test rides, whether they will only allow test rides on particular days, let's say on test ride day events, that kind of thing, where that's your only option. You get a little 5-minute ride, 10-minute ride, just to see how you feel about the bike. You know, so it really depends. But for my part, I'm always 100% honest about what my intentions are, what I'm looking for, and also whether I'm looking for a bike now or whether I'm looking for a bike next year. But I'm just looking at different bikes, different brands. And that's another thing I always say as well. You know, I never go to a dealership and say, I'm only interested in your bike and your brand, and that's it. I always say, no, I'm shopping around. I'm looking at different bikes. I'm looking at which bike might suit me or what style of bike might suit me. And I'm also looking at different dealerships as well. Be 100% honest with them, because, you know, at least they have the information. They have the information, and you know exactly where each other stands. So there are no surprises. So let's just say you come back from your test ride and you say, do you know what? No, I'm not really that interested. And they can say, okay, that's fine. There's no problem. Maybe there's another bike you might want to try. Maybe there's something else. So that, again, that leads on to more test rides, more experiences, or fine-tuning the bike that you actually want, which is essentially what they want as a dealership and a salesman, because they want to make a sale, right? And of course for you, what bike that you want and what bike is going to suit you best. Anyway, I hope you found this useful. I'd say I've been doing quite a few test rides recently just for my own motorcycling insight and the next bike that I might want to get, and hopefully any insights that I do have will be of help to you as well. And I'll catch you on another video coming very soon, or maybe another test ride. We'll see what happens next. Catch you again. Ta-da. RevelatorAlf.